Google, the world's largest search engine.
Today, my team and I are representing Google and will be analyzing and dissecting the company. Today we are going to be discussing the history, mission and vision, key products and services, financial information, environment, SWOT analysis, strategic implication, business level strategy, organizational structure, and company crisis. First, let's talk about the founders of Google. Inspired by the company Archie, Larry Page and Sergey Brin created Google. They met at Stanford University and constructed their company in their dorm rooms. Their goal was to create a search engine that used links to organize the World Wide Web. It was originally called Backrub, but later changed to Google. The company was incorporated on September 4th, 1998. Their first office was in the garage of the later CEO of YouTube, Susan Wojcicki. Their current headquarters, the Googleplex, is in Mountain View, California. Now, we are going to be talking about one of the biggest aspects to a company, which is the mission and vision. So, Google's mission statement is to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. Their characteristics of their vision is sharing new ideas, global accessibility, and boosting organization. Their vision statement is to provide access to the world's information in one click. Their goal is just to simply be the best.
Google has made an impact across the whole world through innovation and new ideas. Now, we all know Google as the typical search engine. However, they have created other products and services, as well as features that help us throughout our daily lives, such as Google Search, Gmail, Google Maps, Android, and YouTube.
Google Search was presented in 1998 and was made to search for text in publicly accessible documents offered by web servers, getting better results for every internet user. Another service that offered by Google is Gmail. Gmail was the first true landmark service that Google offered after the introduction of their search engine. Blowing away its competition, Gmail quickly became the world's greatest email service, letting the customers communicate with any server, computer, or device. Gmail also allows a person to sort drafts or read emails without internet connection.
Another feature Google branched out into was the mapping world, which was in 2005 with the debut of Google Maps. Google Maps allows you to find directions using satellite imagery, aerial photography, and street maps. In addition, it lets people measure distances, set routes, and use verbal instructions to get to their destination.
When talking about Google, you obviously have to talk about Android, which is superior to Apple. Android was created in 2003 by Andy Rubin, which was first a digital camera company, but he realized that there wasn't much there in the market. So then he decided to make it a phone industry. Google later purchased it in 2005. And doing this, many automatically assumed that this was Google's way of trying to get into the cell phone industry. Now, Android has 2.5 billion users worldwide and is still dominating the market.
YouTube was created in December of 2005, and there was a tremendous amount of growth in January, and it was not slowing down from there. Google purchased YouTube in 2006 for $1.65 billion. With that, Google allowed YouTube to be able to have certain copyrighted content on this site, including certain songs and video material. Also in 2008, Google had made a deal to feature certain movies and TV shows on YouTube.
Now we will continue with Google's financial information. Google joined the Nasdaq stock market on August 19, 2004. Their first stock was priced at $49.81. Today, a Google stock costs $2,706. Over the past 10 years, Google's annual revenue has increased by over $219 billion. Last year's revenue was $257.6 billion, and last year's profit for Google was $146.7 billion.
To continue, the external environment of Google plays a large role in the success of the company. From a general environmental viewpoint, using the pestle analysis, Google values a strong and stable government because if there's a stable market, the government will support businesses. Furthermore, economic-wise, Google has never had a problem. On average, they increase 3.2% annually due to being the leading source of advertisement and media information. Another external factor is that a major contributor to Google's success is the technological element, which Google excels in by constantly innovating. For example, by using free features like PageRank, AdSense, and various other Google products, Google makes a user's life easier, efficient, practical, and entertaining. The largest external factor, and possibly the most important, is the social factor. Since Google depends on society for support and success, they have been able to expand their company globally and contribute to human development. This is the biggest advantage Google has over every other company like them, because they have popularity around the world and have a large variety of users.
Now, let's talk about the task environment of Google, which includes competitors, regulators, customers, strategic partners, and suppliers. First, let's talk about their biggest competitor, Apple. Apple has many products and apps which are really similar to Google's, and that is their biggest competition. Their regulators is Competition and Markets Authority. Their customers is individuals and institutions. Many institutions, for example, Lee University, use Google's products as a main source. Then there's strategic partners, which are websites that show Google ads, for example, YouTube. Suppliers are Akamai Technologies, Logman Incorporated, and Liverson Incorporated.
Google is no doubt a highly successful company. However, every company has good things and bad. A SWOT analysis lays out the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats of a company. This can help a company determine what they're doing correctly and how to improve.
When analyzing the SWOT analysis, the first thing we should do is look at the strengths. Google is the #1 search engine in the world. According to the report by Joseph Johnson, Google maintains 85.55% of the global market share of search engines, which makes them the most dominant search engine out there. Forbes named Google the second most valuable brand with a brand value of $207.5 billion, which is an incredible amount of money. Next, Google Maps offers results at a click of a button, whether one is looking for a restaurant, shop, or hotel. Google offers options within seconds. This increases Google's popularity by bringing convenience to customers and really by going by their mission statement with easy access with one click of a button.
Moving on to weaknesses. One of Google's greatest strengths, advertising, is also its biggest weakness. With more than 80% of their revenue coming from advertisement, Google is the leader in the advertising market. This is a problem because if something goes wrong with advertising, Google will not have many sources of income to fall back on since advertising is their central pillar. To follow, the company's advertising behavior is starting to become aggressive. YouTube, Google's video platform, has recently become more aggressive with advertisements by making them appear in more search results and video recommendations. This is causing users to become frustrated with Google, which could cause them to turn to other media. Google has faced a great amount of controversy related to user privacy. Texas, Washington, Indiana, and Washington, D.C. have all went into legal battles with Google, accusing the company of tricking users into sharing their location for ad targeting. While Google claims it is innocent in stealing information, many people seem to think otherwise. Some even claim that Google tracks internet activity even while a user is in incognito mode, bringing about a class action lawsuit.
Next, we're going to be talking about the third step within the SWOT analysis, which is opportunities. So first, exploring the market in India. Recently, Google invested $10 billion in India for a 5 to 7 year span, hoping to expand their products. India's population currently is at 1.3 billion people. That is a lot of people that Google really wants to put their products in their hands. Next, creating and innovating new products. Google recently made the Google Home, which took the world by storm. Also, Google needs to add more brick-and-mortar stores. Recently, they added a brick-and-mortar store in New York, and they're planning on creating more.
22. One of the biggest threats of Google is its main 4 competitors. These competitors are Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, and Facebook. These companies threaten Google in different ways: computing, Windows operating, cloud business, and social media platforms. Next, another massive threat that Google faces is its dilemma with China. In 2006, Google entered the Chinese market hoping to have a strong presence, but due to censorship issues with the government, Google pulled out. Now, China has the largest internet usage in the world, and other search engines are getting money that Google could have been receiving. This could make other search engines more popular than Google and affects other countries' browsing preferences. Lastly, this dilemma gives Google more upcoming competitors, which are Baidu and Yandex. Both competitors dominate the Chinese and Russian markets. So since Google would not compromise with the Chinese government, other threats were presented to their company.
One way we can take the SWOT analysis deeper is through strategic implication. A way Google can do this is by maintaining their strengths, since they're the #1 search engine worldwide. Google can expand their company to Apple products as the main search engine, since Safari is currently the main search engine for Apple. This way, users won't have to download the Google Chrome search engine app on Apple products. Next is combating weaknesses. The main weakness Google has is the negative feedback they receive from the number of commercials they put out. If Google can understand their users to continue to receive positive feedback, they can reduce the number of advertisements they put out. This can help Google save money, but also help them continue to receive positive feedback. Ways Google can strategically implicate the SWOT analysis is through taking advantage of their opportunities. One of their larger opportunities is that Google has been presented with being able to expand their business into India. If they can move quickly in their expansion in the Indian market, they can get there and gain popularity before any of their competitors do. Furthermore, accommodating to the country's culture will help them gain their approval, leading to favorability and increased profits. Lastly is avoiding threats. Google has failed to enter the Chinese market. However, if Google can attempt to re-enter and comply with their censorship mandates and rules, they can still profit from China. Though Google won't be fully invested in doing so, hopefully in the future, it will lead to more flexibility, which can help them gain power over their other competitors in the Chinese market.
On a different note, a strategy is a comprehensive plan for accomplishing an organization's goals. These are many ways to use strategies, including distinctive competence, strategic management, resource development, and more. Google uses a differentiation strategy. That is when an organization seeks to distinguish itself from competitors through the quality of its products and services. Google uses this strategy because the company's generic strategy is an overarching influence on what the business does and its competitive advantages against other firms in the online advertising market. Moreover, Google's approach to growth helps aid the company by maintaining its status as one of the most marketable brands around the globe.
Moving on to Google's organizational structure. Google utilizes the matrix structure, and they have a combination of function and product-based structures. They also have characteristics of a flat organization. The executives of Google want there to be a flow of information to and from their lower-level employees. Kifano says employees take an active role in decision-making, which fosters a belief that their input has a direct impact on the company's success. Employees' direct communication with upper management promotes the innovative exchange of information between employees with different skills or expertise.
While there are certainly benefits of working closely with management, sometimes the closeness can become problematic. In January 2020, Google's chief legal officer, David Drummond, was forced to resign due to allegations that he and other executives were involved in sexual harassment. This crisis exposed Google's lack of skill in crisis management. When multiple reports came out about the many relationships he had with employees during his time at the company, Google was slow to act. Instead of firing him for his unprofessionalism and crime, Google decided to let him resign and stay through the end of the month, putting more women at risk. This shows that Google was trying to sweep the sexual harassment claims under the rug. Google, in this case, was representing what not to do in a company crisis. Google could have better handled this crisis by investigating the situation, dealing with the guilty immediately, coming up with a plan to prevent further crisis, and being transparent and honest with the public. Google has not published anything detailing a contingency plan for handling crisis. This is necessary for the company to be able to combat crises in the future. A well-constructed contingency plan should contain risks and how to go about handling them if they were to happen. It should have information about triggers that will set the plan into motion, the immediate response, who should be involved and informed, key responsibilities, and the timeline of the response. While Google has some much needed improvements to work on, it is still a highly successful company. Through research of the company's history, products and services, financial data, goals, environment, and structure, a person can see that Google is an experienced, well-planned business. By conducting a SWOT analysis, one can recognize what the company is doing right and what they can improve on. Like every business, Google has good and bad sides, but the good certainly outweighs the bad for this company. It does not look like the technology giant will come to an end anytime